Michal, how much does China actually need this deal?
I think China needs this deal very much, both for sentiment and not so much for the economy. I mean, short term, of course, it needs it to boost the economy, but also longer term. The really big prize for the Chinese is access to U.S. tech. But of course, we have to bear in mind that even if we do get a deal, and it does look likely that we will get some kind of a deal, this isn't a happily ever after for U.S. China. These tensions are going to come and go during and after Trump.
Okay, we'll get out the energy aspects trust meter. I don't see any trust from paragraph 7 on down. There's a lot of yeah, but here. How do they develop trust in the next 24 hours or in the next 24 years?
I don't think they do. They develop a deal that's workable, and there are some aspects of it. Trade, right? China can buy...
They can do a workable, save face. Yes. I get the idea they can both trot out, have a press moment, everything's great. But is it a tangible deal without trust? How can you do that?
I think it becomes a tangible deal because they work towards it, right? And there are things that the U.S. wants, like better IP protection, better access for foreign firms into the Chinese market, that China is willing to give, and there are lots of people in China that are pushing for it. I think the sticking points, and that's where the meeting between Xi and Trump is getting delayed, is the implementation measures, right? Xi needs a quick win. He needs the deal to show Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, the Chinese president...
He's more desperate than the president of the United States to get a good win here?
Well, he needs an immediate show, right? He needs the two presidents to sign something, and he needs tariffs to be removed, whereas the U.S. wants to leave some of the tariffs in place just in case, or as they monitor implementation as things move on. But I think structurally there are two main issues here. One is China's industrial policies, right? Made in China 2025, even if the name goes away, that's China's future economic trajectory. And the other is the dominance of state-owned companies. That, again, is not going to go away.
Does it move dollar?
Again, like, you know, we talk about a real deal versus a deal in name only, and that comes down to the details of the deal. And in terms of your question about trust, probably from a market's perspective, the most important element about whether or not markets believe it are the enforcement measures, because that gives it
almost
credibility.
Verification.
Yeah, and if China agrees to some element of unilateral enforcement by the U.S., which is what they're resisting at the moment.
Okay, excuse me. Why should any nation in a bilateral negotiation affect unilateral effort by the other party?
Well, again, it would have to be very, very specifically laid out. I agree. That's where the resistance is, and we might not get that. And therefore, this could be deal in name only. And I go back to what I said about dollar CNY. Short term, there will be some enthusiasm around the deal if something is signed, but then you get down to the nitty-gritty, and going beyond that, if trust starts to fall away, which is possible if it's deal in name only, then the impact is far more fleeting.
But will international, IP theft actually be thoroughly addressed?
I think it will be. I mean, thoroughly, depends from whose perspective. But I think there are things that the Chinese are also keen to get done. The Chinese are innovating. They want IP as well. So I think it will be perhaps a bit more than name only. But does it last 2 years before it starts sort of falling at the seams? I think that's where it becomes tricky. But I think we certainly get a lot of measures that do help international investors and China and the U.S. make progress.